Stop shooting everything in slow motion just to have the option to slow it down in post. Frame rates matter, but why? In this video, I'll be discussing the importance of frame rates in video. Specifically, we will be exploring the differences between three common frame rates: 25, 50 and 100 frames per second. By the end of this video, you will have a clear understanding of why frame rates matter, when to use certain frame rates and why. First, I'd like to give you an example on why choosing a certain frame rate can help you with your storytelling. In this case, I want to talk about the use of slow motion footage. Slow motion footage can be a powerful storytelling tool that can add depth, emotion and impact to your story. I'm going to show you how I use slow motion in a short documentary. The documentary is about a fighter who's going to fight a world title fight in karate combat. This documentary is mainly shot in 25 frames per second, and the only part that I shot in slow motion are the moments before he enters the ring. Let's have a look at the segment of the film so you will have a better understanding.
These guys are world class. He's younger, he's faster, he's stronger. I kind of boast in my weakness. I want to go in there like I'm the underdog. That's the mindset. First time we fought, came out hot, kind of caught me early, dropped me in the first round, and I didn't feel too worried, but I just kept coming, ended up breaking him and pouring it on the second and third round. For the most part, it's just about weathering whatever he wants to bring and just dragging him to that deep water. Got some things that I know are going to hit him. He got some things he knows is going to hit me, so we can both take some shots, throw some shots, and then see who's smiling after we get into that deep water. And I like to swim, so I'm looking forward to that moment.
So I use slow motion for a reason here. I wanted to highlight the intensity of the moment. I wanted to create a certain mood and I wanted to create a sense of timelessness. So imagine how you must feel moments before entering the ring with someone who's basically trying to take your head off. Well, that feeling I try to communicate with the viewer. And I'll give you a few ways in which slow motion footage can help you with your storytelling, starting with highlighting key moments. By slowing down action, you can highlight important moments in your story and make them more impactful. So, for example, slow motion footage can be used to showcase the moment when a character makes a crucial decision, or to highlight an emotional, impactful, or dramatic event. And the second one is creating a mood and an atmosphere. Slow motion footage can help to create a specific mood. For example, slow motion footage can be used to create a dreamlike or surreal atmosphere, or to even add tension and suspense to a scene. Then the third one, the last one, is creating a sense of timelessness. So this can be effective in, for example, emotional scenes, where slowing down the action can help the viewer to fully absorb the impact of the moment. Overall, slow motion footage can be a powerful storytelling tool that can add depth and emotion to your story. By highlighting key moments, creating a mood and an atmosphere, and creating a sense of timelessness, slow motion footage can really help to create a memorable story. Okay, now let's dive into the different kind of frame rates, starting with 25 frames per second. 25 frames per second is a commonly used frame rate for video production. A 25 frames per second video will appear smooth to the human eye, and this is because 25 frames per second provides enough visual information to create the illusion of motion without overwhelming the brain with too much data. That means that 25 frames per second gives a natural amount of motion blur. You can use 25 frames per second for basically everything, but it depends on what kind of story you're trying to tell and what kind of creative decisions there have been made. If you follow someone in real time, for example, think about The Fly on the Wall, documentary style. You want to give the viewer the feeling that they're in the same room as a subject. This will all be shot in 25 frames per second. And that's because this frame rate provides a smooth and natural look to the video content, which can help to enhance the viewer's engagement with the subject. Now, take documentary filmmaking as an example. So a documentary is mostly filmed in 25 frames per second, as this provides a smooth and natural look to the content. But the question is, when would you use 50 and 100 frames per second? Well, let's start with 50 frames per second. 50 frames per second is often referred to as high frame rate. It's double the standard of 25 frames and it provides an even smoother viewing experience. This will give you the option to slow down your footage with 50%, resulting in smooth slow motion shots. This frame rate is commonly used in sport broadcasting, for example, in action movies, video games, and that's because the increased frame rate makes it easier to capture fast-moving action, because there's less motion blur. But why is there less motion blur? Well, that has to do with the shutter speed when filming. Let me quickly explain. Shutter speed refers to how long the camera shutter is open. The longer the shutter is open, the more light will enter the sensor. So shutter speed also affects motion blur, with the slower shutter speeds resulting in more motion blur and faster shutter speeds resulting in less motion blur. So how do I make sure that I always have the right shutter speed? Well, there's a simple trick, a rule, to always get the shutter speed right. It's super simple and it's a 180-degree shutter rule, which means if I'm shooting normal footage at 25 frames per second, my shutter speed has to be double the amount, so 1/50. Now I would like to shoot something in slow motion, let's say 50 frames, so in post I have the ability to slow it down with 50%. 50 frames per second means a shutter of 1/100. The same goes for super slow motion. When I'm shooting in 100 frames per second, the shutter needs to be 1/200. Always ask yourself why you shoot in certain frame rates. Don't be the guy, don't be the one who shoots everything in slow motion just to have the option to slow it down in post, because the difference is visible. We move on to 100 frames per second. 100 frames per second is an extremely high frame rate that is not commonly used for everyday video. However, it can be incredibly useful for slow motion footage. When played back at a slower frame rate, for example 25 frames, you can slow down the footage by 400%, so 4 times. The footage will appear smooth and detailed. Filming extreme sports at 100 frames or higher can create a sense of awe and wonder for the viewer, showcasing the physical feats, the skills of the athletes. Or also, for example, nature. Slow motion footage can be used to showcase the beauty and the detail of natural phenomena, such as a bird flying through the sky or a little movement in a flower because of the wind. And this can help draw the viewer into the scene and helping them appreciate the intricate details of the natural world. In conclusion, choosing the right frame rates of your video production is important to achieve the desired look and feel of your content. While 20 frames per second is the most commonly used frame rate, 50 and 100 frames per second can be useful in certain situations. So next time, think, what kind of story am I trying to tell? What do I want the viewer to feel? And choose the frame rate accordingly. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.